welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited for this episode. So let's go with a quick round of introduction. And let's start with someone who doesn't deserve any. Dylan Burns, how are you doing?
Geek, you might want to fix your mic, man. That's you were cutting in and out there.
Really?
Clip it a bit.
It might be a noise gate.
I might have to start paying you less.
Wow.
I know there's workers going on strike in America, but you live in France, okay? So I'm good at the moment.
Yo, the
I
French
export my
are
labor.
basically experts at striking. You better watch yourself.
Yeah, getting me YouTube strikes more like.
Damn. You're gonna make Geek cry.
Yeah, well, I'm a Frenchophobe.
What am I doing?
Okay. Well, Geek's having fun with that, so I guess I'll introduce myself and I'll take over once again. My name is
All right, is it resolved? Or is it doing the thing again?
You're fine. Okay. You're good. My
It's
name
good?
is yes. My name is
Okay.
Hassan. My name is Hassanabi. You can get me at twitch.tv/Hassanabi. I'm just a poor man trying to make my way through life, struggling to pay the bills. So if you could go to twitch.tv/Hassanabi and drop me a giant fat sub, I'd appreciate it. Helping a local leftist commentator, get up on life.
Always happy to help small streamers.
Thank you.
I'm going to throw it to Gappy. How are you doing?
Just extremely tired, but hopefully this should be fun. Or all right, if it's not fun, I hope it's fun for everyone else, I guess.
Wow, what an intro. Okay, Preacher, how is your Sunday going?
Sunday's going good. Most Sundays do. Preacher TV on Twitch, and I think it's going to be a good one. We've been looking into this, the main topic. I don't know the other two, obviously, but it's going to be a good time tonight. And remember, it's going to be as fun as we make it.
True. I'm going to throw it to... I was going to say Wolficon, but anyway. Binks, how are you doing?
Doing good. Binks_baby. Some call me the #1 foreign policy guy on Twitch. Do lots of foreign policy streams. Worked on the Louis Gohmert's campaign. Worked on Vermin Supreme's campaign. Very proud of that one. Trying to get Jeb Bush for 2024. Let's go.
Yeah. Lefty Sal, how are you doing?
Doing good. I'm Left Style. I do media analysis and political analysis on my channel. I've started up a podcast where I get random people on to talk about movies called Prolimina. You can find me at the leftist twitch.tv/leftist or on Twitter at the Lefty Owl.
Yeah. By the way, you're an amazing drummer. Really like your drum stream.
Oh, thanks.
Katarina, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm Katarana. I am Dylan's illegal immigrant worker. I clean the house. I make up the bed.
Gee.
I let him know it's time to brush his teeth. Just really hard work.
I believe in traditional family values.
I'm still waiting for my green card. I don't think I'll ever get one, and until then, I'm being paid in Haitian gourds. Other than that, I also do physics stuff. I also do a little bit of the yelling stuff. I think they call them debates. And then I also, I guess I just professionally be cute on my stream. Sometimes I get rated by Dylan, and he calls that compensation via wages. But yeah, hello.
Yeah. More perfect union. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm back from the dead. Literally. Been down under the weather with bronchitis and a severe sinus infection. Thought I had COVID. Had a shot. Not a shot, but a test. Test was negative. And after 3 days of drugs, I am sort of functional again.
Unvaccinated confirmed.
Catch me on twitch.tv, The More Perfect Union.
Sad.
And I stream occasionally, and I participate in panels such as this one. So I'm looking forward to the main topic and also to talking to people that I have never met before. So thank you for the invite.
Anytime. All right, CTV will get his intro when he'll be back. In the meantime, so yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for joining us for this episode of Hippy Recruitment. So Hippy Recruitment every Sunday, 6 p.m. EST. And yeah, if you want to be on the main show, which takes place every Friday, 8 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/DylanBurnsTV.
Would want to be on the
go to
Dippy,
Dylan's Discord or to Danabo, basically, because Danabo takes care of the booking. If everyone that you see on the screen has been invited by Danabo. So yeah, if you want to be on the show, either Dylan's Discord or Danabo's Discord, drop a message, and yeah, we'll try to have you on when we have a chance.
That's the only person that ever fights to be on.
How are you doing?
Pretty good about yourself, Geek.
Doing good. A little bit stressed, like I got a little shock. I thought I woke up like too late for the show, so that was first shock. Went to take a shower, again thought that I was late, so yeah. I got two big shock like this today. So yeah, show is starting great.
So because you were unaware of the actual time. Okay, no worries. Anyway, y'all, I'm Critically Thinking Veteran. Most of y'all know who I am. I like to have fun and have a good time, right? I like to laugh.
CTV party girl confirmed.
Explore ideas. So let's get into it.
Hell yeah.
Everyone sounds so excited to be here. I hate to say.
I'm really excited about this show because like we literally wanted to have the best of the best debaters for this one.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, they weren't available, so we got this bunch. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. And with that being said, let's go over the rules real quick. So all of you are familiar with the HippyDP, so I'm going to keep it short. First of all, when I speak, it's to moderate, so no interrupting. No misgendering, no attacking immutable characteristic. Keep it TOS, and after that, for the structure of the show, where it's different from the HippyDP is that we're doing one fun topic, one serious in the middle, and one fun topic to end, basically. So yeah, beside that, like yeah, opening statement, try to keep it short. Ending statement, you know the drill. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into it with the first topic, which is if you could take just one thing with you to a deserted coconut island, what would you choose and why? And I'm going to start with Dylan.
Gun.
Why?
Okay.
Threat out. Anybody else is on that island with me, right? Right when we land up, we wake up. I have a gun. The coconuts are mine, right? Like, what are you gonna do? Rush me? I got a gun. It's not gonna be hard to shoot you. It's an island. It's a bunch of sand. What you gonna do? Run into the forest, hide in the trees? Then I still have the coconuts. I have the coconuts. You're fucked. Gun.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Binks.
Lube.
Look, this man knows how long.
I don't want you to develop on that. I'm going to throw
This
it
man
to,
knows
to
how long
Gabby.
he's gonna be here. He knows he's gonna be there for a fucking
Probably your
while.
mom. It's pretty easy to get her every night, so getting her onto an island wouldn't be hard either.
All right, this. Oh my god. All right. More perfect union.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a boat so I can get the fuck off the island.
You don't want to hang out with us?
That's kind of 5-ed. I like it. Get over
Not if I fucking shoot his boat.
I would take Dylan with me just to see how long it takes him to just give me the coconuts because I'm so fucking annoying.
My guess is right away.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it to Prisha.
Yeah, rum. I mean, what goes better with the coconuts than rum?
Coconut Island.
I'd have an awesome time in the woods. I might not be able to run away from Dylan's gun, but I'll stagger away, and if he can't hit the straight-on target, he's not going to hit me when I'm staggering left and right, so I'm good here. So I'm taking as much rum as I can.
Don't forget
Okay.
the coconut.
Lefty style.
Drums. He's gonna say drums.
Probably take a nice pair of headphones so I don't have to hear Kat and Dylan bitch at each other.
Valid answer. And last but not least, CTV.
There's just a whole lot of not understanding, like, the whole question here, right? Like, to start, right? Dylan says, I want a gun, right? Well, bro, like, when I listened to that, I went, not a bad idea, except it's one thing, right? You don't get ammunition, right?
You make your own ammunition, CTV.
So I'm confused, right? At
Worst
the
engineer
here, right?
ever.
Then we go to a boat, right? Which is
absolutely
then
pathetic.
multiple things, right? So
That's a boat. Boat is a system.
No, it's multiple things, right? Because it starts off with like a frame, right? And then there's like wood planking, you know, like, or depending on what its construction is, it consists of multiple things, right? So like, then I have to ask the question, right? What is a thing?
Okay.
According to this question.
I'm questioning. So,
right?
does he want us to say what
really
single element would I want to bring?
Because, like, is a thing simply like a Swiss Army knife? Can you include all of the blades and the corkscrew opener? Can you include all as one thing? Or is a single blade the one thing?
Okay.
See, so there's much
okay,
more
let me
clarification
fix mine.
actually
the only thing I would bring with me is going to be
right?
cesium.
You've got to
a single
include
element,
these types
nothing
of things.
else. What do you want?
If you don't, right, then I end up having to sit up here and explain like how I'm critically thinking about this one question. Wait, maybe that's the deal. Maybe this is why he did it. See, now, Geek, it's all part of a master plan by Danabo
that's what he's
to just get CTV talking about all of the various ideas that could come along the way, right? So Danabo, good move, right? So from here, I'm going to assume that the one thing needs to be a single item, which would be like gun, no ammo, right? Which means boat, no motor, or like a lot of other things, right? And it's going to depend on the type of boat. So if I got to take one thing with me on I'm assuming a deserted island with only coconut trees.
Response right here. Beautiful.
Is that what I'm to assume? Okay. Okay, so then I'm taking my wife and we're just riding out the rest of our days. That's just it.
Damn, great to know you think your wife is a thing.
I literally called Dylan a thing.
Well, I think there's an element of like I think it goes into like the philosophy of linguistics or something. Like this happened a while back when we were talking when there was the whole like neo-pronouns thing or whatever, right? When we talk about an item like a chair, we don't see it as just different pieces of wood, even though we can deconstruct it further. What we see as a chair, we see as a chair. We don't see it as just different pieces of wood. So I don't think it's really fair to say like, oh well, if it's a boat, well there's multiple items. So
no, he's getting his fucking battle axe. That's what he's getting.
The boat in and of itself is what we define as a thing.
You know what?
And if you want to bring a motorboat, a boat with a motor, that's a different object that we consider to be a different object in our language.
No, I see where CTV is going. He wants us to get down to the elements. So now he wants the question to be amended. What would be the single element you would bring with you? And I'm saying cesium. Okay? Yep. That's what we're going for here. Cesium it is. How else are you going to build an atomic clock? I got you. I see where CTV is going. You know, STEM people unite.
I need to have some explanation here on how you're going to build a clock with cesium and a coconut. And then the other thing,
minds want to know.
And the other thing I'd like to kind of push back a little bit for CTV, because I know he is known as critically thinking veteran, but I think in this case he is critically overthunk it.
He did get the battle axe. What a beautiful.
I mean, the question is, if you're on an island with Vosh and then you need a coconut and you have to perform sexual acts on him, what do you bring with you? That's the real question, right? Am I crazy?
That wasn't part of the question.
Is the only island in the world is the only one there has Vosh on it? It could have anybody on it. It could have.
That sounds like a self-report to me.
Who doesn't want to, throw, Vosh's dick for coconuts? Like, I mean, you'd have to be a madman to not want to do that,
I am currently in a room with my partner.
That's how you cloud chase, right?
Hey, axe. I'm in my answer. Axe. No bullets needed. Axe.
Excuse me, there's wood and metal?
Well, so you amended. You said gun, so now you're changing your.
Yeah, if I can't bring bullets, then I'll just do axe.
Well, it's not
Dylan's slippery burns.
Can't stick to your gun.
Listen, I'm sticking with it because we're exploring a new island. We're exploring a new island. That means there's going to be adventure. What adventure doesn't go awesome without alcohol? I mean, come on. You need rum to make this an awesome adventure.
Well, if you want to talk about team building, I think that the rum can facilitate, bridging barriers and things of that nature and getting cooperation.
Yeah, starving for 3 days. Now that's fucking team building. Let's fucking go.
I'm just assuming that we're getting to this island and it's uninhibited, and we're not all necessarily going to be there together. So
uninhibited?
Sorry, uninhabited. Who says I didn't drink rum before I came here? Who knows?
I was just going to say it's the rum that makes you uninhibited.
Remember the conversation about the triangle.
So I don't know. Companionship seems like a good thing to bring, and I feel like my companionship with Dylan is multifaceted. Sometimes I make him want to not be around me.
That's why I'm bringing the axe.
Yeah, but like it could be like a kind of like it's kind of like a game of tag where I'm never gonna win because you don't want to be near me to the extent that I could never catch up to you, and yeah, that seems entertaining.
But doesn't that make you win?
So the thing about the axes, also on top of doing the same purpose as the gun, I can also cut down trees.
You're gonna destroy the environment?
Yes.
Yeah, there's actually a really good book
It's
that
very
was
problematic.
written in 1986 by a guy named Gary Paulson called Hatchet. Right? Really good book.
I read that.
See, so then that lines up pretty close to why Dylan is picking an axe, because he's already knows all the things you got to do. It's in the book. You want to go survive out in the wild? All you need is a hatchet. That's all you need.
Well, I'm just gonna say this: I love my significant other to no ends, but I'm not taking her to the island with me because, unlike the rum, when I say, "Hey, I want to go do this," the rum's not gonna say, "I don't think that's a good idea, Mike. Maybe you shouldn't do that." No, the rum's gonna say, "Do it. You got this, fatty."
So it makes you compliant.
Wow, that rum is really negative.
No, it's honest. And so am I when I'm on rum.
I mean, if I had to bring someone, I would probably bring Geek, just because I feel like we would, when it came to the point where we would have to eat one another, we would just do it like gentlemen and battle it out, and then
he who loses becomes the ham sandwich.
You're just counting on him surrendering, aren't you?
What else do the French do?
You said it, not me.
What else do the French do besides just surrender? It'll be an easy fight, easy clap. Let's go. Yo. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Unfortunately, Katarina is gonna have to leave, so shout yourself out and... No, I'm joking.
That's what I thought.
Goddamn. Okay, first of all, I want to disagree with a few things, since like it kind of died down. Why would you bring someone else? It's another mouth to feed. How are you going to do it? You're on an island alone. And a limited amount of coconuts.
It's good to know that Geek, you think that just because you bring someone that you're also responsible for them, right?
Wow, great unbiased moderation, putting in your own opinions here.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you saying women don't have agency, that they can't feed themselves?
First of all, why is it implied that the woman is going to be the person that needs you to fight for them? I know that Dylan eats at quite frequently. He'll get tired of coconuts and then he'll die. Now I have food for like a month.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty small island if you only got food for a month.
No. I meant like I have like a meat source for a month now. It's Coconut Island, not multifaceted island.
Well, just so you know, coconuts are a protein source.
I want dead white boy.
Wow.
Hey,
I've never seen that on a menu before.
That's not advocating.
What did I miss? Anyway, Gappy, what about I bring a lazy lion NFT so my financial future is secure?
Yeah, it's your own receipt. You'll totally make billions of dollars on it. It's literally that you fucking.
It holds value better than homes do.
Second, do you have internet on this island?
You could just make some shitty art on the sand and you'd make it an NFT.
I'd have it in a hard drive. That'd be good.
It's an NFT until the tide comes up.
And you really don't have to bring another person because eventually a volleyball is going to wash up on shore and, There's your Wilson.
Wilson.
You also got to consider whether or not the island makes you old.
Stop it right there.
You spoilers. I never saw it.
Okay, honestly, that would be kind of dank. If it was a coconut old island, I would just bring, I don't know, a pair of glasses and just sit there and wait for the next 24 hours until I kick the bucket. That sounds lit. Ooh, that sounds lit.
Oh yeah.
And this is why the alcohol comes in.
Okay, actually, if we're on a coconut old island, I'm hanging out with Preacher, and I will get drunk for the first time.
Every time now, Vosh takes a flight or gets on a boat, and it's international anyway, I think, man, do you know how fucking hilariously ironic but sad it would be if he crashed in the middle of the ocean and actually ended up on a desert island?
What, just him and Dusty?
Great. No, if Vosh actually ended up on a desert island. He tragically died. I mean, he dies there. His family never gets to see him again. The irony of it still happening on a desert island would be so overwhelming, it would be difficult for me to feel compassion in that scenario.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Exactly.
What were your other qualms with our statements, Geek? Besides the fact that why would you bring another mouth to feed? Like a pleb.
I mean, I don't even remember your choices because you went into this weird philosophical thing and everything, so yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I think this topic kind of died down really quick, so yeah, I think we could, unless someone has something to add, we can do really quick closing statement and yeah, jump into the next one. So yeah, let's go for that, really quick.
Geek, can you do Gappy and then do me first for outros?
All right.
Wow,
okay.
Weird bias. Dylan Burns taking advantage of his white privilege. Okay. Weird channel.
Well, so yeah, let's start closing statement. Gappy, wanna start?
Yeah, sure. Whatever Dylan's going to say, it's not going to be that funny. Please do not omega him or whatever. Okay.
All right, Dylan.
Gappy, you're a pussy and you can't respond. Any statements? Got him. Okay, done.
All right, Bings.
Leonardo DiCaprio died at the end of Titanic. That's for who spoiled the ending of Old for me. Thank you.
Yikes. Ruined the movie. Well. Lefty Style.
All I'm gonna say is that Dylan and Kat bicker like old like an old couple, and it sometimes gets annoying, and I hate it.
All right. Preacher, go ahead.
I'm just sticking by my truth of the statement. Alcohol makes everything
out.
better.
What did I do? Exposed.
Katarina.
I'm reformatting everything. If I'm going on the old Coconut Island, I want to bring M. Night Shyamalan with me so I can ask him why did he do this.
Decent choice. NCTV.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that we pointed out the flaw in the question pretty early on, and once the flaw was pointed out, it was really hard to find a good rhythm for everybody because everybody was just confused, and that has a lot to do with the way the question is framed, Danabo, right? I mean,
Danabo. Yes.
Yeah. So you gotta give us something, bro. Some things need to be defined so that you can further explore the idea, and but we got this whole second and third topic. I'm sure we're going to be redeemed, right? So, folks, right, get out your fucking meme card, right? Because I think we got a few boxes that are going to be checked. All right, so let's get to it.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, like I just said, blame Danabo. Sorry, More Perfect Union. Did I?
Yeah, you forgot me. But look,
Go ahead.
I'm going to stick with the boat. Because Dylan's either going to use a gun as a club, and somebody's going to take it away from him and pummel him into the dirt, or if he takes his axe, he's going to cut down a coconut tree because he can't climb the tree. Tree's going to fall down on him. It's going to kill him, or Katanara is going to irritate him to the point that he just falls down and kills himself, or everybody else's problems, okay, are going to lead to this Lord of the Flies kind of a thing. I'll be in my boat offshore,
No conch
waiting
shell?
for everybody to sort of fall down. I will come on shore, gather up all the coconuts, get in my boat, and go sell them on the open exchange and pay for the trip to write the book.
That's the plan.
The most conservative.
All right.
Gonna go
yeah,
bootstrap
sorry
it.
for forgetting, but yeah. So, like I just said, blame Danabo for this topic and for everything that will go wrong in this show. That is for twitch.tv/Danabo. And yeah, with that being said, let's jump into the main topic, which is, all right, the Smith-Mundt Act. I'm not going to try to pronounce it correctly. Was signed into law by Harry Truman on January 27, 1948. The act was developed to regulate broadcasting of American propaganda to foreign audiences. Produced under the guidance of the State Department, and it prohibited dissemination of material produced by such programs. As one of its provision on Americans. Okay, question. Do you think our State Department and the BBG should be disseminating propaganda to the people of the United States? If so, why? If not, why not? And with that, I'm going to start by Dippy.
I think given the fact that we don't have restrictions, like severe restrictions on internet content or online media or anything like that, I think it's totally fine if a state agency wants to. I think the door is open if individuals and private corporations can engage online freely due to the First Amendment, and the government has its own government. I think it's called the government speech doctrine or whatever. The government's totally allowed to also engage in the same way as long as they're keeping things transparent and you know what's coming from the government. For the same reasons we're allowed to have a Twitter account, the CIA can have a Twitter account, or any sort of state agency for that matter.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Katarana.
I don't believe that the First Amendment applies to corporations or government entities in the same way that corporations are not supposed to be spreading false advertisement. Propaganda always has some inherently false element to it, like either sugarcoating or saturating something. So I think that, like, given the stigma that like propaganda has with it, we should not be allowing our government to disseminate propaganda within our country or other countries. I think the whole fact that we even disseminate propaganda is pretty fucking weird.
All right. I'm going to throw it to More Perfect Union.
Yeah, so when I first looked at the question, I'm thinking, okay,
but corporations are
what's
people.
the
only
sort
when
of the
these on
genesis
Twitter.
impetus of it, right? And at the time that it was
Only when they
adopted,
clap back.
people were talking about the State Department being "quote unquote" overrun with Reds, and there was a fear that that we needed something to counter Soviet propaganda. So when it was amended, and they said basically no State Department stuff could be projected internal, because there was the possibility, at least, that we were trying to win the hearts and minds of other people, so Voice of America and so forth. The Obama administration sought to have that changed, and the law that was amended, basically, it changed it a little bit. It wasn't that much. It just basically said, yeah, they could come back and they could do their internal stuff. So it's not so much about being able to bring overtly so that they could propagandize the American people. It's more about things that were produced for external consumption could be freely distributed by the government. And the speech doctrine really is, yeah, the government can say what it wants to say, right? But they still have an obligation to tell the truth. So there are dangers associated with what was done in 2012 that make it potentially problematic. And we'll talk about that more in the open panel. But I don't think it's a good idea that the government falsely lay down stories, either directly or covertly, by working through these things called, I think, NPVs, where they produce content and then it's a broadcaster or some other user internally puts that out. It looks like the broadcaster's content, but in reality it's done by the government. So I think that there's some problems with that we need to have some kind of a truth in federal speech content to advise people so that they can consider the source.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Leftist Al.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on what
Today.
you mean by propaganda.
But
If you
depends
mean
on the
propaganda that
subject.
is inherently what you call it, deceptive or one-sided, then I don't think it's okay for America to sort of propagandize to its citizens because it can create a false narrative that ends up harming
Exactly.
people. We saw this with Nazi
this
Germany.
good
Nazi Germany
to have blood
constantly
sports?
disseminated propaganda to its citizens, and it made
It's going to
them,
have
you
blood
know,
sports if that's what you're
raging
asking.
anti-Semites that wanted to see the Jewish people extinguished. So I think it's better to just not spread propaganda
Also, let me
within
send a
our
message to
own
Dylan. You're supposed
borders.
to give me my coffee.
It's not good. And this also goes for private entities as well. I don't think private entities should be propagating, you know, propaganda that you know has that sort of effect on people. However, I don't see any way we could regulate you know, private corporations from spreading that type of information in any way that couldn't also be applied to private individuals. It'd be very hard to sort of like parse the differences between misinformation and you know information that was got you know that's like out of date or something like that. It's it'd be a very weird process to try and determine that type of stuff. So I think on the whole, we shouldn't, you know, we should discourage propaganda from private entities such as CNN and stuff like that, and that the U.S. government should not be able
There's
to
a
disseminate,
difference
you know,
between propaganda
very one-sided and very
and there's a difference
propagandistic
between
materials
propaganda and
to their own
advertisement.
people.
All right.
And that's always important to keep in
thanks.
mind. Like, you can advertise,
Yeah,
hey,
you know,
did
as
you
a
know that the
tax-paying
U.S.
American,
Army,
I think I
like,
deserve every bit of propaganda insemination. I should be inseminated with any kind of propaganda because I pay for it personally. That's what I think about it.
huh?
No, I mean, honestly, I
Okay.
Googled this for like 10 minutes, so I'm basically an expert on it. But the Smith-Moon Act was passed to basically give a American voice to other country, the rest of the world, as I guess part of the info war that was going on at the
They
time.
already
But there was
have a
this
fucking
weird kind
American
of rule
voice.
that
Have
was
you heard
made
of
where
Hollywood?
the propaganda or the information that was given
All
wasn't
of our
allowed to
media
be
is
seen
some
by
form of like
Americans, and that wasn't
American like
that wasn't
hegemony.
really
I don't think
because
we
of
need the government
the idea that it
disseminating
would hurt
anything
Americans. It was more
further
just there was sort of
about
this
how great
public-private
America
media
is. I
divide
had
that
so
was
many
going
friends
on at
that
the
end up
time.
coming
Later
here and
on
they're
in the
like, yo,
70s,
this was not what I thought this would
that
look like.
sort of some
Yeah,
politicians
it's not all
started
just
to
New York
make
City.
it sort
Did
of
you know that?
more of a propaganda thing. I think it's sort of the 2012 Modernization Act. It's sort of like a no-brainer. There are like communities in like St. Paul, Minnesota, like the Somali community. They use his Voice of America and these sorts of outlets to get information and stuff like that. So it seems kind of the fact that they couldn't get that is just kind of weird to me. So
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to throw it to Dylan. All right. I go back to you later. Who didn't go? Preacher.
He's chewing like a motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with defining the word propaganda. A quick internet search. Information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view.
Oh, okay,
And
let
the
me put
reason
it
I
up.
say
Sorry.
we need to define that is because propaganda has taken up such a wide use lately in the last few years. You know,
Propaganda is
anything
inherently
Fox says
biased.
is propaganda to the left, and anything
the
CNN
left!
says is propaganda
Yes!
to the right.
To the left.
So defining it, I think, makes it a little
Let's
bit
talk
easier.
about
And I
the
said, no, our government should
left.
not be taking part in that. But then I said, you know, well, what about the Constitution and the First Amendment? Then I realized the right to freedom of speech and free press doesn't give our government the right to lie to us, to deceive us.
I mean, they already do,
in
but
no way, shape,
one
or
found.
form should our government be allowed to now.
I don't think we need to give them
You know,
more
private
ways
media,
to do it.
Fox, CNN, obviously they're under the First Amendment, so they can, but you know, just because you can doesn't mean you should, and just because you can doesn't mean you're free from consequences either. So I don't think it should be going on. I don't believe it should be happening, especially with our government, and I don't think media should be relaying it, but you know, that's today's world. You're going to have that, unfortunately.
Dylan?
Man, first I gotta say I'm gonna fire Danabo. This is the worst question of all time. Not saying it's a mean thing, just being honest. But if you want my honest opinion on it,
He's been bitching about this
I
question all
believe that the
day.
United States government, when it comes to disseminating information, propaganda generally, if we want to make it like a broader, more interesting
Did you
question,
guys know that this is like my
when it
application
comes
for the
to
Hippy
certain
Dippy? Like if I do
causes,
well
or
here,
when it
Dylan
comes
would be
to
like,
certain
maybe I'll let
actions that people
you
should do, I think
come
it's
on, not
perfectly
as a
fine.
fill-in. But I'm
For
like, dude, this
example,
isn't the question
I
for
think
this.
if there is a huge outbreak of a disease and the government puts up posters reminding people to wash their hands, and that correlates with a higher amount of people washing their hands, I think that's perfectly fine. Where I don't, where I think it crosses the line is when it comes to the glorification of the self. Say, this politician is the best and the greatest and amazing. That type of stuff I think is wrong for government public funds being used for such endeavors. I think it's also wrong for a government to be self-flagellating, right? To basically be going up there and just talking about how amazing it is to basically counter like discontent of the people. So I think
I
propaganda,
guess
if
I
we're
have to
using this
dunk on
word,
someone.
generally
I'll call
directed
Dylan a
at necessary
fuckwit.
causes for public health, for instance, would be stuff I would be more okay with when it comes to the government disseminating these type of information. And that's all I have to really say about this.
All right, and last but not least, CTV.
Okay. Few things to consider. We've got the Constitution, right? Right to free press. We've got the government federally
I'm sure that will
without
go
the
very well for
ability
me.
to restrict speech, right? And we've got information that, due to the nature of media, say over the last 80 years, right? Moving from, say, like newspaper, magazines, to now it's predominantly online. We've got companies that have been hosting cable night, shows at night, and have been for decades, now fighting for relevancy against, more online entities. There's more sensationalization of the media going on. And they're all fighting for relevancy so that they can make dollars. So, do I need the government out there spreading or disseminating propaganda, right, or potentially false information or potentially misleading information to the American people? I think that the one thing that the government should be trying to do is to focus on information that's actually helpful to its citizens, and not just trying to get into what, in essence, becomes a corporate war for relevancy, right? And at the end of the day, that would be the market of the marketplace of ideas that
I'm expecting a bit of
we don't need the government throwing a damn wrench in the gears, if you will. We need the government actually being the one place where people know that they can find true information.
All right, and with that being said, the floor is yours.
I think what CTV just said right there is probably especially that last part. We should be able to rely on our government. If I have two different entities telling me two different things, I should be able to rely on my government to tell me the truth. I think we should all, not just I think we should, I think we must demand transparency from our government. And as long as there's propaganda being put forth from the government, that's anti-transparency. I don't see how that works in any way, shape, or form to better the people or the country.
Okay, I'm gonna pose a question. I'm gonna throw a question over to Katarana, if you don't mind. I think you said something along the lines of that you don't believe corporations or the government have a First Amendment right, period? That only people do and not private entities or the government, right?
I said that, yeah, the First Amendment right doesn't apply to the government. I could be wrong about corporations, but when it comes, like, does the government have freedom of speech and can they just say whatever they want without, like, consequences from the government? That sounds like that shouldn't be, right? If I'm wrong, then...
Well, there is I think a doctrine for it. I think it literally is called the government speech doctrine, although it's pretty low, not really developed hard. But just going off of that, then, are you fine if the government comes out and says, hey, we stand with the LGBTQ plus community, we stand by them, and we want to make sure that we can provide as much support for them as possible, and we'd hope that people in society make sure that they treat them well?
I didn't say that the government isn't allowed to say words. I just said that they don't have freedom of speech like the way that like regular citizens do. But I don't see how that question correlates.
Would they be allowed to say that or not? Is what I'm wondering.
Yes, are they allowed to say like Happy Thanksgiving? Like what? I mean, yeah, they can say whatever stuff they want. I mean,
I'm wondering where you see the differences between the government and a private entity is what I'm wondering.
What?
Because the First Amendment protects citizens. And
I don't. Well, let's
like these are two different documents. You've even said this yourself. It's a government doctrine.
It's a doctrine in the same sense that like a doctrine about how the government can't implement a specific religion in a class is a doctrine, right? In a public school. But what I'm wondering is where would we differentiate the right that the government has to say things versus a private individual?
When the government's being false, you're taking a conversation off into a
well, because what I'm wondering is everyone seems to be saying, well, the government just, as long as it's not deceptive or one-sided, then sure, they can say whatever they want. But how are we going to determine if it's deceptive or one-sided?
Is it factually incorrect? I mean, that's a lot of the thing.
That's what I'm wondering. How would we properly implement a way to determine if it's factually incorrect? Because right now with like CDC guidance or some of the paid ads out by the CDC or some of the sponsorships that they do, people say those are factually incorrect. People say those are propaganda, right? How would we ever properly define or implement a way to fact check the government on these types of
Would you say that there's a difference between advertisement and propaganda? Because like, let's say when we have like this, sorry.
Not really, Kat, because advertising is just simply paying for the message to be brought out. Okay. Propaganda is properly defined is that it's either self-aggrandizing, it's purely partisan, one-sided in nature, or that it's done in a covert way. The problem with what was done, and your question about the doctrine of free speech, that's not really a law, that's not really in place, it's just like a concept, right? It's like a legal theory that's not codified, it's not been really tested. Okay? But the government, but if we set in a position where we argue that the government ought to be able to intentionally mislead the American people, any government, but in this particular case, the American government, to mislead people because it suits their purpose to push a particular narrative, everybody should rail against that because it might be the thing that you like today and therefore you're okay with it today, but tomorrow it could be the thing you like that's getting knocked out. And the essence, right? The essence of it is that the government programming, they produce tens of thousands of hours of content per year in the State Department. And it's oriented for, and by the way, the law says that they cannot directly create content. The State Department cannot create content that is targeted for the U.S. audience. Okay, so we're talking not about speech in general, not about government protections against free speech claims in general. We're talking specifically about this law and its application to the State Department's production of material. Okay, and the State Department under this law, in the law as it was amended in 2012, still can't produce content geared or targeted towards the American people, right? That we have to narrow the focus of this to exactly what it's about.
And most of that content, even in like Voice of America, is just reporting. They're just reporting like what's going on. They do say there is like a pro-America policy stance or bias. Yeah, not bias, but like it's mostly just like saying the news, you know.
And there was a study, or there was a review, Northwestern Law Review, and they talked about the potential issues that exist, right? And we think like there's potential for voter fraud in mass mail-in ballots if you don't verify the voter rolls, right? I'm not trying to get off the track with that, but there's a concern that it could happen if the security issues aren't addressed. The same thing is being posited in this Northwestern Law Review article to say that if the government can produce, if the State Department can produce content and then feed it over to CNN or feed it over to Drudge Report or feed it over to whatever, right? Depending on who's in office, whoever their favorite media outlets are. And they just say, here's this thing, you can produce it or you can put it on your content. The organization doesn't pay for the content to be produced. Okay, they get to play it. It looks to their community, it looks like content that they produce themselves. And therefore, if it's pushing a particular narrative that the government wants, right, the State Department wants, then you have this potential that the people consuming the content through the third-party vehicle are not aware of that. And there is the potential, and it trips one of the triggers for what is propaganda is that it's delivered in a covert way. So the answer or the suggestion that the law review article came up with was that they should at least include attribution produced by the State Department, blah blah blah, because people, when they hear, most people have a healthy distrust of the media, most people have a healthy distrust of the federal government. Okay, and if people know that the content is being produced by the State Department, then they might go, I might want to go do some additional research, thus informing themselves about it and being less susceptible to the idea that a particular piece of programming might be considered propagandistic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. And I think it's totally fine. I read the same law review thing too. I think asking for transparency or like some sort of transparency requirement is totally fine. What I'm confused with is everyone seems to be saying, well, it's totally fine unless it's deceptive or one-sided, but there's no actual policy solution as to how to determine if something is deceptive or one-sided, other than letting other private players in the market determine if it's deceptive or one-sided. Like everyone just says we can just magically create some sort of fact-checking system for the federal government and just have work completely in a nonpartisan way.
Real quick, I wanted to throw it to Katarana since she was interrupted and it was this. Go ahead. And after that, Preacher.
Okay, so what I would see as to be a form of propaganda would have been in the case of the recent bomb striking over in Afghanistan, if the American government put out like a whole, like, I don't know, circle jerk kind of a piece of information saying, we got the terrorists, oh my god, look at us, we're keeping you safe, because then fact checkers would have gone through and be like, nah, you just killed like some people and his children and his family, like that's what you did. But if that would have been disseminated through like just like, yes, America's keeping you safe, in that kind of method, that would have been like clear propaganda to me. Whereas if they would have put out something just saying like, did you know that you can get a free education by being in the U.S. military? That's not propaganda because it's true. If you joined a U.S. military, you can get a free education. And those are some like benefits of being in the U.S. military. I mean, there's more to go into some of like the pros and cons, but is that a true pro? Yes, it is a true pro of being in the U.S. military. That's just advertisement.
Yeah, but propaganda doesn't have to be false, just so you're aware. It's just the manner in which it gets delivered.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess there's it doesn't need to be false, but it often is false or weirdly warped.
Yeah, I'm really confused what you guys mean by propaganda. Like I used to work as a journalist, and like there would be times when like the police department would send a press release, and it's like, oh hey, we've got this dope new police truck. We want to show everyone this police truck, and then it's like just a short little press release. Okay, I'll do a story on that. If it didn't exist, is that propaganda? Just the fact that I put that out there, disseminating that information for the police department, is that considered propaganda?
So
what was the definition?
I want to let Rich talk since he raised his hand.
Oh, and I think it might even go along with what Binks is saying too. I'm not sure. I don't think everybody's saying, oh, it's okay as long as it's this. What we're saying is we're trying to separate propaganda. What is propaganda? And propaganda, I read the definition there. Of course, it's just a generic internet one, but information, especially of biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. We're saying, government speech is one thing, but when it falls under that definition of propaganda, then that becomes bad when they are pushing, especially misleading. I don't know how the government's going to speak. It's no matter whether it's Republicans in or Democrats in, there's going to be bias in their speak. I mean, it's going to happen. So I don't know how you work around that. But when it's misleading in nature, to me, is the worst part. Our government should not be in any way, shape, or form misleading. That's plain and simple.
All right, I want to throw it to Gappy.
Okay, I think everyone here seems to be, for lack of a better word, seems to be circle jerking over the fact that we ought not to have a government that is providing misleading information, which is true, right? Nobody wants that. The problem is, how exactly do we make sure that happens? Because we can all say that we want it to not be misleading, but if there's no real way to actually implement a way to determine whether or not the government is being misleading and strike down a story or penalize the government for providing that type of misleading type of information, then I don't know if there really is a shade of gray here in terms of how we regulate it. Either we ban those types of government speech altogether, or we allow that government speech knowing that there's a potential for that type of propaganda to occur. I don't think there's any middle ground, because I don't think there's an actual policy prescription anyone here can make that would allow us to determine whether or not something is factually correct or not. And
So
when you weigh the pros and go for it.
yeah, so a couple things. One, like, these are debate panels and not praxis panels, so a lot of times we won't necessarily come here with like policy prescriptions because they're not praxis panels. We just like to yell. That's kind of fun. But then the second thing is also, like, do you think the first time the government started disseminating deceptive or incorrect information in our country in the last like 100 years was in 2012? No.
No,
I mean, but like they've been doing, like, there's misinformation from our government all the time, and like just because there's now this legislation that had a change doesn't necessarily mean that like now it's like open gates and now like there's propaganda like every 5 seconds. It seems like a bad piece of legislation to repeal, saying that now you're like, okay, propaganda is okay to be disseminated here, but it's not like the government hasn't lied or done things in the past, or like there's been several instances throughout the years where people have been able to fact check the government prior to 2012, and like what's happened in the past. I mean, we just kind of say like, you guys lied about this, and then sometimes they say yes we did, and sometimes they say no, but it's not like yeah, I just don't really understand what you're trying to get at when it says like we're all circle jerking saying like the government shouldn't lie to us. It's like, what are you gonna do? I meant like, what have we been doing? Like,
okay,
let me hop in for a second, because I'm seeing two different things here. One,
wait. Sorry, I want to let Gappy respond. He was interrupted, so yeah, finish your
two things for it. It wasn't repealed. It was just amended so you could do things like FOIA requests, or third parties could make like one-time or subscription requests in case they wanted to use that information. They aren't required to. But two, in regards to the whole like circle jerking thing, I think we all agree propaganda is bad. But the problem is, if we're deciding whether or not the government ought to be able to provide that type of like misleading information or have that opportunity to, we have to determine, well, if we're gonna ban that, then how exactly will we implement that? Like, this is like saying like, oh well, should we just stop all crime? Like, yeah, of course, but the problem exactly is like, how would we be able to implement that? And if there is no way to do it, then it really is a binary question of yes or no. And it sounds like it's just an issue of, oh well, they should just be factually right. But people dispute this all the time. We see this right now with like the CDC trying to do guidance and trying to do different types of ads and stuff. People accuse that of being factually incorrect and propagandized, right? So I don't really think there's a way for us to restrict the government on what it presents.
I see.
Let's talk about Hassan.
Sorry. One other thing, because I forgot there was one other response to Katarana. I know you mentioned, oh well, there hasn't been. Do you think that there's only been propaganda since 2012? No, obviously not. But the big difference is that over the past couple of years, we've really seen the internet become a lot more democratized and a lot more popular, for better or for worse, right? But because of those changes in information technology, that's one why there was a reason for them to be able to amend the Smith-Dunt Act or whatever, to be able to amend it, because of the fact that the internet serves as a much better fact checker nowadays and a much more democratized way of disseminating information to people. But also because of that, it makes it a lot more difficult for people to get away with propaganda unless they go full like China, or like full, I think what's happening in Myanmar recently too, where there's a lot more of an authoritarian rule, not just on the government providing speech, but on restrictions of speech overall. And since we don't have those types of restrictions on speech, I think it's a lot easier for us to just allow the government to do whatever.
I want to let Katarina respond to that if she wants, and after that I want to throw it to Preacher and Perfect Union. And after that, I want to open it to people who haven't talked a lot. Yeah, go ahead, Katarina.
I think there's a difference between using the word propaganda as like a way to, I don't know, like debate bro the government, and like actually there being factual propaganda. I mean, people can say that the CDC guidelines are propaganda, but like, do vaccines stop you from getting COVID, or do vaccines not stop you from getting COVID? that, like, these are factual statistics. I mean, like, sure, people can say, like, oh, the CDC is lying to you. And I can say that anybody is lying to me. But, like, at the end of the day, we do have fact checkers. And fact checkers have gone through and said, yes, vaccines are good for you. That is why we've had vaccines for the last 100 years plus. But that's not actually propaganda. Propaganda isn't just when the government says something that you don't like. Propaganda is when, like, there's actually a clear bias. And, like, sure, there might be some things that the government hasn't, like, been telling us as, like, alternative sources. But it's not a lie that vaccines are good for you. I mean, it's not just, like you say, that it's just, a lot of people call things propaganda as a way of, like, just negating an argument. Like, a lot of people will say, like, somebody's a literal Nazi when they're not. Like, sure, I can say words exist. That doesn't mean that you're using these words correctly. But, like, in general, do I think that this, when I say repealed, I don't mean, like, actually repealed as in it's no longer there, but now it's been amended to no longer have the protections that we initially had in 1948, and I think that's pretty bunk. Like, I understand that maybe there's, like, some form of patriotism that's on the decline, but I don't think we need to start, like, allowing, like, fundamental protections of their citizens to necessarily be stripped away just in order to, like, build back up spirit or some shit. I don't know what the utility was or what the context was of the 2012 amendment, but I don't think that's a pretty good path for us to go on. And I also, as usual, find it strange that it comes up in a debate topic rather than this being something that, like, we actually talked about in 2012, because this seems like a serious, like, rights, not citizen rights, but just this seems like a pretty serious issue that more people should have had some type of pushback on.
All right, I want to throw it to Preacher and More Perfect.
Yeah, there's three things going on here. One, I keep hearing the word circle jerk, and I'm thinking that's not a bad thing unless you're the pivot man in that. So, moving past that,
jeez,
I think Kat's talking about propaganda coming from the government, and it sounds like Gappy's talking about, okay, well, propaganda, but can we really do anything about that? And that's a discussion to have down the road. I agree. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. If you look at, let's say, and I might take some heat for this, whatever, when Adam Schiff came out and said, this was Trump's phone call with Ukraine president, and he gave this totally false, he knew it was false, quoting of the phone call, but he never got in any trouble for it. When the actual conversation came out and everybody realized that dude just stood on TV as a government representative and straight up lied to the people to push his narrative, there was never any pushback. He never got in any trouble. So you're right. There should be a conversation down the road about what happens when these government people are doing this, because right now, obviously, Trump has said some false things, has not been punished. It's on both sides of the line. You're getting false stuff, and nobody's being punished. So yeah, there should be conversation about what happens. But I think at this point, when it comes to propaganda itself, that we the people should be like, dude, I don't want my government lying to me. I don't want them being deceptive. I'd really like them to not be biased. I understand you're not going to get that, but right now, looking at propaganda as it's termed, it's a bad thing. And we don't want the government participating in that. What happens when they do? We could talk about that. That's a whole different debate, though, what kind of punishment they should receive. But they definitely should be punished one way or another. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, More Perfect Union.
Yeah, so the question of praxis, right, whether you get the difference between theory and practical real world, I think there have been suggestions that have been made. I brought one up, right? Attribution. If the State Department produces something and they give it to a third-party entity for their rebroadcast or their utilization, and if it's going to be rebroadcast to people in the U.S., which is what the change in the law permits, just simply attribute it. Let people make their own mind up based on what it is. I'm not saying do away with it.
It's like,
right?
If
People
a
can
government
judge
were
for
to go
themselves,
on and
the
on
ballot
and
box
on
is the
and
best
on
place to
about
sort of figure out whether or not
how
you
we're
trust
winning a particular
the government's
battle,
doing
but
to
we're
the point that
overall
it matters
winning.
enough to
We're
make a
not winning the
change.
war, and
there's
they
that
never
piece
tell
of
you
it.
about the
With
battles that we're
respect to,
losing. So you're just under the
the
impression that
CDC
your government
promoting things, right?
or
This
that your
is not
military
really
is
the
very
same topic,
competent.
but The CDC
that's
did
from
say
propaganda.
masks don't help. Then they said everybody wear masks only help people who are sick from getting people who aren't sick. And then they said, no, everybody's got to have it because you want to make sure you don't breathe in what somebody else is breathing out, even though they're wearing a mask.
We got
and then they said, well, now you need multiple masks.
Fucked.
And then they said we got for herd immunity at 70% of the population. Then it was 80%.
And then all we did was suddenly
now
15 years later, we were like, ISIS?
ISIS
booster
shots, right?
And everybody was like,
so
where the fuck
really
did these guys come from? And it's like, it's called they're not winning the war on terror. What to do?
People don't trust their government. They don't trust the media who were reporting what the press releases that are coming out from the government, right? It's not the same thing as what we talk about contextually in this particular case, because this is specifically limited to the State Department's production of materials that are designed to be broadcast outside being utilized inside. The State Department still cannot produce content targeted towards the American people. They're still forbidden by law to do it. They're just not punished if it's produced for, Voice of America, and then somebody internally like Ilhan Omar in the Somali community in Minneapolis, right? They want to hear it. They listen to Voice of America. Then Voice of America is not being punished or classified that way, even if it's not true. So I think the bottom line is we need to push back on the concept that the government engages in anything that's propagandistic, internally or externally. We ought not be in that business at all. And we ought to encourage our representatives to pass laws that require them to tell the truth. And oddly enough, a couple Democrats, John Kerry and another senator, tried to push something in 2005 to get to, like a truth in governmental reporting thing, where the stuff that people have to tell, that come out and tell the American people, had to be true. And it got shot down overwhelmingly because they're not interested in us knowing the truth. They're interested in us being divided. And things like propagandistic tools and things like that might be employed through the State Department, through other entities with this change in the 2012 law, make it more possible to mislead people who are not up on what's going on.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of, the problem that I have is I think propaganda to me is a much more fundamental term than the way you guys are using it. Like if propaganda is just using a message to convey a point of view of an institution or of an administration, then propaganda is built into like democracy itself. If you like drive by and you see, like Adam Smith for Congress or whatever, that's propaganda. If you get an email from your congressman or from your president, that's propaganda. Like every administration wants to rest on their laurels and they want to like sell themselves to the people, right? That in itself is propaganda. I actually, and when it comes to like Voice of America and those sorts of groups, I trust them more than I would trust like CNN or mainstream institutions, because they don't sensationalize and they don't engage in clickbait because they're funded. They don't have to worry about that.
Well, and that's a big problem going on right now when we look at our mainstream media is it's sad when I can go to Al Jazeera and get a more, and I'm not saying that there's this great group of people, but I can get a more honest take of what's going on with situations in the United States than I can from mainstream media. And that's sad when our mainstream media has fallen to, they're really just, they'll receive propaganda and they push it. And I think if I can go back with what I believe MPU was saying, is that the media gets stuff, hears stuff from these press briefings, and they don't push back on it anymore. They don't fact check our politicians. This is the internet age, man. We can fact check just about everything and anything, and we should be. But it's a sad day in America when we actually have to continuously do that and cannot rely on our government to just give us the straight up truth.
Yeah, if I could just dovetail right there to what you said.
I like doves and tails. Go ahead.
The argument, right, is that the news media will pick up stories that fit the narrative that they want to propagate, and they'll fact check the living hell out of the arguments that they don't
like when Ben Shapiro posts things.
And either KataraNaStrmz wanted to go, or she was telling me I'm number one.
Definitely that, but also,
Awesome,
this is different though from the government though. Or are you saying that essentially news stations will take things that they hear from a press conference and just run with it rather than checking what the government's saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's all just generally an issue with the 24-hour news cycle is we got to pump it out as fast as possible. Baby Trump ain't in office anymore. Nobody wants to watch this shit. We better pump it out fast. Because, like, all the ratings are dropping and we have to just get out anything as sensationalized as possible. But that's what happens when you don't have state-funded news departments. But I guess, all of this, but is that...
Hang on a second. Did you just argue for state-funded news departments?
Yeah, I think there's no problem with tax paid. Sorry, I don't mean state-run, I mean tax paid.
That still puts them at the mercy of the government if they actually distribute those funds to the individuals, unless we're gonna somehow create some direct like CBCF type of fund.
Yeah, I mean like the same way that we have it in Canada. We have a bunch of like BBC, we have CBC, we have these Canadian.
Well, we have PBS.
Yeah, and PBS is cool. Like NPR is nice. These are things that just happen to be a little bit more factual and they can take their time because they don't have to worry about clicks and ads and stuff because they always will have a certain amount of funding and don't have to worry about like whether or not Keurig is going to pull out because they said something that Keurig didn't like or Nike's going to pull out because Nike didn't like. That I think these are things that typically will help you get more moderate and just true fact-based things rather than things that like appeal to one side of the aisle versus the other. When do you consider a press conference briefing having factually incorrect information? Do you consider that to be propaganda, or do you consider that to be like a lying by omission, or just generally like lying? Because would you say that there's a difference between like the Pentagon saying XYZ rather than a press secretary saying, oh yeah, Biden says yes, yeah, he's definitely gonna be able to get 100 million jobs together next year?
Gabby made a good point earlier, right? Which is, how do you prove that they're actually doing it? And then if you can prove it, how do you get a remedy, right? So there's a difference between, and it gets into the intent, right? One of the elements is where you're intentionally trying to deceive the person who's going to consume the content. So it's one thing for the federal government to come in, or the Pentagon or the State Department or anybody to come back and say, we fired a missile and we killed 2 ISIS-K terrorists. In response, they were quote unquote planners for ISIS-K and they made a bomb. And if they legitimately thought that that's what they were doing, and that's the news release that gets the press release that gets issued, that's fine. And if they go back and they have to correct it because additional information, bears out a different set of facts, they have a responsibility to correct that record. And I don't have a problem with reporting like that. However, if they bombed this car as a distraction to something else, much like Bill Clinton bombed an aspirin factory when the Monica Lewinsky scandal was going on, you can make an argument, right, that was done to deflect and deceive the American people from thinking about a thing that was going on. In this case, it was the loss of 13 soldiers, right? So again, it's a little bit off topic from the subject matter, which is related to the State Department. But just to kind of answer your question, what the press release is and how it was contrived to come into existence matters. And if it's done in good faith, right? We talk about good faith arguments all the time in these panels. If it's done in good faith, you have to accept it as a good faith argument, whether you agree with it or not. And I think we can accept good faith errors that occur in the information that comes out of the government. What we don't want is to countenance patterns of behavior where we know or we reasonably suspect that the government is intentionally misleading us.
Yeah, so wouldn't that kind of go by the same exact like standard that we would hold somebody public figures that are being sued for things like a defamation, because not only do you have to prove that there's malintent, but also that they knowingly spread misinformation. And if we can do that for people, then we should be able to do that for government entities. So, hey, what you put out about the Afghanistan situation, that wasn't true. Did you know for sure that that person was not a terrorist? Because if that's true and you also purposely lied about it, then that's where we get into the issue of you're spreading misinformation and now you're propagandizing. Whereas, if they said, no, we genuinely did believe that this was somebody that was a terrorist, but we did make a mistake, then you say, okay, then please correct the record and please make sure that you're following through more before you're putting out this type of information.
A really good example of what you're talking about was during the 2012 presidential election. Harry Reid from the well of the Senate said that Mitt Romney doesn't pay his taxes. It was a patent lie. It was completely false. He used the immunity position he had from being free to speak on the floor of the Senate, okay, and have no consequence. That was the practical effect of propaganda. It was a blatant lie. He knew it to be a lie. And it did affect people's perception of Mitt Romney as a candidate. And there were no consequences. So I fully believe, and I know, Gabby, you're 100% right, the likelihood of getting any of this shit to be passed and to even just say that people who are in office are going to do the right thing by the American people, by their constituents, and not intentionally lie for political or self-aggrandizing activities, the chance of that happening is nil. Okay, without some kind of a constitutional amendment, because any federal law could be overturned by a subsequent Congress. So I think it's problematic that it happens. It's sad that we're having to make the discussion the way that we're doing it. Okay, because there is a disconnect between theory and praxis, right? That you could make a prescription. The likelihood that our elected officials are going to buy into it or try to self-fix and correct the record so people feel more comfortable about what's going on in the federal government is nil.
So my issue isn't about whether or not we can get something to pass through Congress and whether or not that any type of bill with a solution would be passed. My issue is that I don't think there is any sort of solution. Like, unfortunately, like shit like that 2012 Mitt Romney thing is awful. But I'm not sure if the solution would really be some sort of ban on any type of government speech that might be suspected of being propagandized. You know, one of the awesome things that we have now with such a more politically engaged and active, I guess, America, or I guess online community, is that shit like whatever recently happened where I think the US government said they had like bombed terrorists or whatever, and it turned out to just be like some random family, including children. Shit like that can be called out now pretty openly. I feel like the current state that we have is fine,
not
and to
able
try and
to be
restrict
done
that
prior.
is only going to restrict them in bad scenarios where we probably do want the government to be able to say shit like, hey, you guys should go get vaccinated, or hey, the science has changed, we need everybody to wear masks and shit like that. I think it's better to just leave it where we're at right now, where the people are actually able to openly call them out. I mean, we see it all the time now.
Right, but
I don't think that's a new phenomena, though. Like,
it's been exacerbated in recent years, I would say. I think it's a lot easier, especially with the blow up of alternative media and online stuff like this, for other sources to be able to say, hey, yeah, the government's pretty wrong on this, or hey, yeah, this source is pretty bullshit and stuff like that.
I think that's just like a bit of I'm a young person bias, and we just weren't around really much when there was newspapers, because a lot of these different media sources that went and did the research to say that, yeah, this was a lie, were not online media companies. Like, they were Washington Post and other types of physical like newspaper offices. So I think like you feel like, okay, everything's being blown out now, and now there's like more people doing fact checking, and before it would just have been a headline in a newspaper as opposed to being something that we all we do streams on.
It's way more accessible right now online and through paper, and I would legitimately say, yeah, probably with the blow up of alternative sources, although we've had places like the New York Times cover crazy shit and stuff before, it's only become easier because
my
the
man's
bar
never
for
heard
entry
about
for
Watergate.
other alternative sources to come in, or for people to find that type of information, is so much lower than having to get a newspaper subscription,
my
or
man's
just praying
never
that
heard
it
of
gets covered on
Watergate.
cable television tonight or something like that. It's so much easier to get that type of information, and it's so much easier as a result to call out the government for that type of information if you believe they're wrong, right? So I don't really think that there is any sort of need to restrict them, because we already regulate them ourselves right now.
I want to circle back to what Kat had said about the press release. See how I did that? Circle back to the press release.
Way to go, Jen.
Beautiful.
I don't think what like if Saki gets up there and says something that's not true, I don't think it's propaganda. I think many times, like let's take in case certain things going on at the border. I don't think it's propaganda so much as either a temporary cover up till they can figure out how to actually approach this from the right direction, or a little bit of a deception so you don't see it as bad as it truly is. I still don't see that as propaganda. To me, and now I read the internet thing, but to me, propaganda is something more along the lines of what we saw in Nazi Germany, where they're putting out all this false information about the Jewish people in order to deceive their people into being able to be against the Jews. That's what I see propaganda as, when you're pushing enough false information. Now, I do take a little bit, I still won't call it propaganda, but when they're making people who are not vaccinated and they're doing different commercials, speaking, or whatever, making these people look like Biden said, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. That's not propaganda, but it's getting close there, because it's a pandemic of COVID. It's not the unvaccinated. And to start trying to turn, because that's technically what it's going to do.
That
Maybe
is
an unintended
bad language.
consequence is that you're going to start making the unvaccinated people inferior to the vaccinated, and that obviously goes in bad directions. It's still not propaganda, though. To me, propaganda is something more severe, like what Nazi Germany was doing to the Jews.
That doesn't have to be the only form of propaganda, though.
CTV?
I would say that is poor language, though. You're right. Like, even if I'm somebody that does think that everyone should be vaccinated, I think it is poor language to say a pandemic of the unvaccinated, because that will lead people to be particularly antagonistic towards unvaccinated people. But I think it's also just important to know that, like, there are a lot of steps before we get to, certain groups of people in our country are inferior. There's still a lot of different things along the propaganda hierarchy. So I think in general, that's probably what makes this idea a bit hard for us to completely pin down, because when we learned about propaganda when we were younger, we always thought about like Nazi propaganda, which is so like abhorrently blatant that like it's really, I guess it makes it a bit hard for us as Americans to notice like what's the difference between misinformation and propaganda. When does it get, like, where do you start getting from one end to the other, and like at what point is it actually harmful, and at what point is it malicious, and at what point is it intentional? And I think that's a bit of an issue with our, I guess, media analysis training. So
Yeah, so at the end of all of it, right, I think everybody agrees that what the government itself is putting out should be factual, and problems arise whenever the government is hasty instead of being patient. When the people are screaming for answers and stuff, that's the time when we do need government officials that are a little bit calmer and saying, hey, look, we actually, like, we don't understand everything right now. We're working towards that goal. This is the best information that we have at the present time, right? And when you take the time to really lay these things out there in a nice, concise way for the people to understand, it reassures them that the government is in fact doing what it should do, right? The problem comes in whenever we have politicians that have been doing things that we all are aware of for the last, say, 80 to 100 years from time to time, and more so in the last, say, 50 to 60 years, more things have happened that create the mistrust between the people and the government. And then whenever we have a situation where there is a global pandemic of a virus, it really, and there's already a mistrust between the government and the people, there's a real problem that you're going to have between getting people to do what might be objectively the best thing to do, since they don't trust their government. And so it's like a lot of it comes down to whether or not you trust the government. And the government should always be taking that into focus whenever it's putting out messages to the people. Because if it's not, then that's when like the entity that kind of binds us all together that we all live under, right, starts being the thing that is driving wedges between us, and that's not a good thing for that entity to be doing. So, statesmen instead of politicians.
Yes.
Real quick, I just wanted to remind the rule is that please do not interrupt. Like, Dylan, I think you've been interrupting way too much tonight. I would ask you to
Hey, North
calm down
Countryman,
for a
thank you
while.
so much for the raid.
You know what it is? He's got Pence sitting next to him, so he thinks he's Trump, and he can just shout out whatever he wants to.
But yeah, unironically, okay, we're going to go into closing statement for this topic. Starting with Hippy.
He's just going off.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. I think it's everyone literally agrees, and I think if you ask anyone on the street, they're going to say, "Yeah, propaganda is bad, and we should ban propaganda." The problem is there literally just is no way to do it. I think our current system that we have is totally fine, where people are able to hold the government accountable, especially as the means of gathering information becomes easier and easier. And I think the cons of trying to make any sort of ban on propaganda results in the government not being able to say actually essential information. So while it sucks that our government can say dumb shit like lying about whether or not they killed terrorists or just killed a family, for example, I think that con is unfortunately a necessary evil that we have to have, because I still want them to be able to tell people to go get fucking vaccinated or other things like that.
All right, I'm going to fade to Katarina.
Hello. Yeah, so propaganda bad. But I also just think that Gappy is right where we maybe should think a bit more about what should be the consequences towards government. I think it's just something in general that a lot of us don't think about, because it's so easy to think about like what should be the consequences of like a celebrity, of a corporation, of a person. But when it comes to government entities, it's a bit harder, maybe because we don't know the scope of like what are even things that government can do to be held accountable, besides people saying directly, please be held accountable, or people adding them on Twitter, or people just saying that you're wrong and them saying, oopsies, I'm sorry. And we don't really know much more beyond the scope of that. But outside of that, I think I don't entirely understand what was the context in 2012 that led to this amendment. But I guess in its face value, it doesn't seem like an amendment that's going towards helping, making our country better in any way. But overall, I think it is a good thing that more and more people are plugged in. I just hope that it's something that's not fleeting, and just because 2016 was such a galvanizing year, and eventually we're going to go back to having a nice, beautiful milquetoast type of politics where no one gives a fuck and they can just do whatever they want. But yeah, government lie bad, government do advertisement that is nice, good. Wow, spicy.
All right, I'm going to fade to Preacher.
Yeah, that was a hot take there at the end there, but yeah, I think we should all demand transparency from our government, and I think part of the problem is that we've become so normalized to whichever party's in charge, they're going to lie, and unfortunately, we are in the era where we can have the information at our fingertips and debate them. Unfortunately, we're the little people of the world, and what we say, even here, as huge as Twitch politics is, as huge as Mr. Geek's channel is, we're not going to make the dent that we need to make, unfortunately. So we should demand more from our government and transparency. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent. You need to be transparent with the people. You are there for the people, by the people. And I do believe, yes, they should be talking about consequences when a politician purposely and intentionally gets up there and lies. Then there should definitely be consequences for that. unfortunately, I don't see any of that happening, and so I'm glad that I was here and I was able to win this debate. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to that last subject.
True. You truly outpaced everyone on this panel intellectually. I'm going to throw it to More Perfect Union.
Yeah, so propaganda bad, government propaganda even worse. It may be difficult to arrive at consequences, but something like the failed act of 2005 that John Kerry was an author to, where the government is required to provide truth in the government speech. The stuff that they tell the American people should in fact be true to the extent that they know it to be true, should be immediately corrected, not a bottom of page 6 at the last paragraph or whatever. And I think attribution is a key function for making that work, or could be a component of it. And frankly, the consequences for bad speech, bad misleading public guidance, is really the ballot box. And I think if we just simply inform people the origin of the particular speech that's being done, then the American people will at least have been afforded the opportunity to make a decision whether or not that was useful, truthful, or specious and malintended. And they can hold them at the ballot box. And I appreciate the conversation, but I disagree with the assertion that Preacher won the debate. So I'm just gonna
debate that.
I'm just going to be right here and go just on voice quality alone.
Oh, that's cheating, man. That's cheating.
That's propaganda. I'm going to throw it to Dylan.
You know, I think I've talked so much on this topic. I just want to make sure other people get an opportunity to talk, so you can skip me.
I wish he would shut up already.
True. Binks.
I love it how Dylan could just do that.
Yeah, all propaganda intrinsically bad must be eliminated. With that said, follow me on twitter.com, BinksBBLOL, on the road to 20 followers. I've got dog pictures. I've got cat pictures. I've got retweets. That's all. I just made it. It's not that much. Thank you.
All right. Who didn't go yet? CTV, but
the Left
okay,
Owl.
CTV.
The Left Owl hasn't gone yet. I've literally been waiting for them to go this whole time.
I think it's obvious at this point. We have been all the way around this topic. It's very clear to me that what we need to do is start funding some more Star Spangled Man with a Plan, right? Nothing was ever better than during World War II when Captain America,
Binks
right, was
probably
out
just
there
made it during
leading
this.
the charge. We need that kind of propaganda in our lives every fucking day, all right? So call your congressman, fucking tell them we need Steve Rogers out there at the forefront of this shit and letting these fucking commies know that we stood up to them one time and we'll fucking do it again, all right?
Yeah. With that being said, that concludes this topic. Please go follow all of our wonderful guests, big streamers like Binks, or small streamers like Dylan Burns, Go follow them all.
I thought there was an extra J.K. Lamau topic, or were there only 2 topics?
No. I'm just saying we're going to go into the next topic. I'm just giving everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying to everyone to follow you, but apparently you're not happy with this.
This is what happens
for everyone but Katarana.
I don't want your fucking follows.
Media.
I don't want your fucking follows. You can keep that shit to yourself, bitch.
But yeah, you can post the link to your channel in my chat and everything. But yeah, go follow our wonderful guest. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. Really appreciate it. Twitch.tv/Danabo. He's the person who's helping me and who's helping Dylan and basically behind the scene, who's doing an amazing work behind the scene, booking panels and stuff like that. So yeah. And with that being said, we're going to jump into the last topic of this show, a really serious topic. So I'm going to ask. I hope you did your research, basically. And all right.
How can we do research on a topic we don't know?
That's on you. That's a you problem. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. That's all I have to say.
Feels like Gunny Highway.
True.
All right. This one is, I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit divisive, but we'll see. Pasta, pizza, or potatoes?
What?
Those are your choices. Pasta, pizza, or potatoes?
Potatoes. Stupid ass
thought
fucking
you have to
motherfucker
choose.
question. Dumbass
All right,
motherfucker.
I'm going to throw it to Binks.
I'm confused. Why is potatoes on the list? It's like one of these things is not like the other.
Blame Donabo.
Okay.
Geek, I'm knocking.
Oh, sorry.
Brings is here also.
You went 2 Italian and 1 Irish.
Wow. Yeah, as always, we get an expert for the last topic, so. How are you doing, Fribs?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So yeah, present yourself, and you know what you'll do the first.
Am I in the whereby? What's going on?
No. We're not doing whereby. We're on Discord. We're doing everything on Discord.
Oh, that makes sense. All right. Yeah. Twitch.tv/Freems. Dana Bear tried to get me on for the propaganda topic, but I only like to talk about the important issues that face people every day, such as pasta, pizza, or potatoes. I know these panels tend to have a lot of like food anarchists on it, so I'll be pushing back mostly against that. I have my notepad out, so I'm taking this very seriously because I don't want anyone to come in with some fruit pizza bullshit. So,
Well, I'm glad that you are telling us you got your notebook out because we still can't see that you have
I'm
your
working
notebook
on
out.
it. I'm working on it.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
In the meantime, yeah, I'm going to. Do you want to give your take, or do you want me to go back to you later?
There he is.
Who are you talking
All right.
to?
You.
Oh, come back to me later because I want to hear what other people have to say on this.
All right. So Bings, go ahead.
After thinking about it, out of those 3, I probably eat potatoes the most. But I'm a firm believer that you don't really like potatoes if you just can't eat a regular potato. You're not a true potato lover. So I'll go with pizza.
Okay.
Wow.
Gappy.
Probably pizza, unless it's cheese pizza, because that's not a real pizza.
I'm not going to respond to that. Frames, go ahead.
Oh God! So I need some
Fascist.
clarifying things here. When you say pasta, are you just talking about the noodles or pasta dishes themselves? Because that makes a big difference. I could, throw the fucking noodles away for all I care. But if it's anything made with pasta noodles, then like you can literally just eat everything and have the noodles. Like, oh, this is a pizza, but it's got noodles on it, so it's pasta. I need to know. That changes a lot of things. The incorrect answer is potatoes. I will say that.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Dylan.
Wait, you didn't clarify.
I don't know.
Stuff?
Blame Danabo. I'm asking Danabo right now. So.
Hashtag blame Danabo.
Hashtag justice for Danabo.
All right, Dylan, go ahead.
Together, right?
Okay, so for me, I think it's pepperoni pizza. I think it's the best type of pizza. It's a basic type of pizza. I think everybody likes to get wild with other type of toppings that are, I think, frivolous or so out there that there's only going to be a certain niche group of people that's going to like it. The reason it's better than potatoes is we're saying potatoes. And since we're not clarifying, I'm just going to assume we mean like a raw potato or what you can do with a raw potato on like a basic level. So I'm not thinking French fries, okay? I'm not thinking potato skins on like a basic level like potato.
It's a basic level of a
And on the
pizza.
other end, it's pasta. So I'm just gonna assume like what, ravioli, which I don't know, man. Pizza sales in the United States far exceed pasta sales in the United States if you restrict it to any like one food group. So yeah, pizza.
All right. And by the way, after precision, it's all pasta dishes, basically.
All
not
pasta
just the noodles.
dishes?
Yeah.
Well, how the fuck is that fair?
You get
How's it
different.
not? How is it not?
Because you can
Yeah,
have all
all of
pizza.
pasta
Don't be a
against-
dum dum.
one category of pizza.
Oh my god, I need to hear other people's takes.
Sushi pizza.
Eyebrows are vibrating right now.
Dessert pizza.
Dylan.
I'm going to pray to preacher.
Okay, so
today I
as a
learned
fat
that
guy,
my
let me talk
boyfriend's a
about this stuff
fascist.
right here.
So just I'll let
Anybody
you know.
who follows me knows I do
I'm
concession
authority.
work throughout the day. So I can see where a potato, or throughout the summer, I do concession work. One of the stands I do is the potato bin. It is nothing but baked potato with all your favorite toppings. So you can take a potato, plain old potato, and you can top the hell out of it with whatever you want. You can do the same thing with pizza, and you can do that same thing with pasta. So we're going to have to break it down to situations. You know, if I'm at a fair, it's hard for me to walk around with a piece of pizza and not drop it all over my clothes, whereas a baked potato in a boat I could eat. However, you know, you're out for the night with your boys, you're having some beers, you're going to want to sit down and have some pizza. To me, I like the meat lovers pizza because, you know, meat, it makes everything better. Now, when you want to sit down with your family, have a nice little pasta dinner with whatever, you know, depends on what kind of pasta you want to use, what kind of sauce you want to use, or gravy, depends on what you call it, what kind of cheese. But if you have to pick just one, I'm going to have to go with pizza. I mean, that is probably the universal of all. You can put pasta on a pizza, you can put potato on a pizza. So, I mean, I have to go with pizza if I have to pick one, but I more or less probably just get rid of that person that's making me choose, to be honest with you.
All right, I'm going to pray to Katarana.
Today's a really sad day, Geek, because I learned that my boyfriend's a fascist. And the way I learned this was because he said he only eats pepperoni pizza. If that's the only toppings, and that means that, yeah, he's a fascist. Do you know who ate
Pepperoni
pizza?
and pineapple.
Excuse
to be
me.
Specific.
Even bigger fascist. Great to know. You personally bombed Pearl Harbor. Get help. Now, going on, you know who ate pizza? Mussolini. Pasta? Pasta, okay? And why I say pasta is because there's some things that are pasta that don't even be looking like pasta. Have you heard of Israeli couscous? That's technically pasta. Do you know about orzo? That's technically pasta. I can make risotto-like dishes just substituting it with orzo, and it's basically like I'm eating rice, but it's technically pasta. I'm already excited. Also, penne is pretty lit. You know, you could do a lot of different types of things. You could do creamy, you could do tangy, you could do chicken, and you could do shrimp. And if you put shrimp on pizza, that makes you a bigger fascist. Pasta. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to pray to more perfect union.
I think you guys are missing the point of the question, right? It's not. You're being asked to make a choice. You're being asked to make a divisive choice among foods that all have myriad complexities, myriad opportunities for inclusiveness, and we're instead being asked to pick the most divisive take that we can get. You can put anything on a pizza, you can put anything on a baked potato, you can put anything on your pasta. And I think we should celebrate the inclusivity that is everything and resist with all of our potential effort, our collective and individual efforts. We should resist being forced to make such a superiority-based judgment when everything is equally good all of the time.
That was a hot take, by the way.
Disgusting.
All right, I'm going to pray to CTV. Sorry.
Especially if it's a hot potato, but.
All right, so I can't trust Gappy, right? Because he wants to start drawing lines, right, with regard to pizza, right? He's just like right off the top. He's like, cheese pizza's not a real pizza, right?
Yeah,
it's like
a sandwich, but only
shut
bread.
the fuck up! It's right. It's my time to talk. What are you thinking? Everybody else, shut up! This is what you wanted, right? So this is where we're at now. Can't trust Gappy, right?
Yeah, but what
Oh my Jesus Christ, Braves!
Yell at me,
See how
daddy.
it happens so easily,
I'm kidding.
right? So now, can't trust Gappy, right? When you start, like, cheese pizza is the baseline pizza. Okay, it's got your three elements you need. You need fucking pizza dough, right? You need a sauce, and you need cheese, right? So Dylan is already wrong from the fucking start. Whenever he called pepperoni pizza a base pizza, it's like, no, there's your first fucking topping, right? So right? Anybody else's opinion on it, right? Anybody else have one that, no, right? Pizza's the only way to fucking go, right? But you can't trust Gappy and Dylan's opinion on this because they don't fucking, they're drawing weird lines, right? Weird fucking lines. And it's not surprising coming from Dylan. I mean, he's an international fucking arms dealer, right? He tries to hide this shit, but yet I've got the shipping manifest, okay? I fucking know where you've been sending shit. Right, so, and Freems, he comes in here sideways, right, talking about his kitchen experience, right, talking about his kitchen experience as if he knows what he's talking. He doesn't know what he's talking about either, right? And Preacher down there, right, he's got the concession experience, but what about the restaurant? So it's obvious to me
there's some
all the
guy
way
named
around, right?
Lord
CTV,
in my mentions right now,
pizza.
and I don't.
That's what you need, folks. Right?
I don't know who he is.
Obviously, the most based opinion in the fucking room, and that's why I'm the conservative main boss.
True, and with that being said, unless I forgot someone, but I don't think I did, you can engage.
All right, real quick, in voice text, just to clear something up, I found a picture of Mussolini eating pasta, but I cannot find one of him eating pizza, so I just wanted to fact check real quick. At least as far as I can
Sorry,
tell.
I don't see color.
Well, it's a black and white photo. So,
should just be normal then.
Also, I would go with pizza now that I got the clarification after I went. The way I'm looking at this question now is you're choosing a base. What do you want your base to be? Whether it be pizza, whether it be noodle, or for some reason potato. So I am going to have to go with pizza, I think. Also, this whole time, all I can think of now is Preacher being on one of those infomercials where people are constantly making mistakes because apparently he cannot walk and hold pizza at the same time. I want to add that in there.
Well, I want to throw out here that, listen, I didn't want to toot my own horn and throw in all my expertise, but I have worked at the bench in the pizzeria, and that is why I did say I hate making choices, but if I have to choose, I will go with the pizza, because with the pizza, you can put anything on it or on its own. It's great. Baked potatoes with toppings on it, great, but like Dylan said before, you give me a regular old potato, I'm biting into it, I'm probably throwing it at somebody because that's disgusting. Pasta, I love pasta, but you need to top it. It's just going to be plain. Pizza on its own, great. And I'm sorry, CTV, I do have the restaurant experience too. And in the kitchen, I was making the
I should have just said potatoes since I'm actually Irish, not Italian.
Front, where I could see those people, I could talk to those people as I am making them their wonderful pizza, whatever toppings. But if he came at me, can I get the ham and pie? Get the hell out of here. No, you cannot. Get out. And I'll leave it at that.
KP, that's literally.
Yeah, I just want to say that we have a lot of Southerners and I think in here, and I mean none of these pizza and pasta, it's not our food. We're very snobby about a lot of foods, but that's not really our dish. And I know people say, oh, Binksy's so cosmopolitan, he's so hip. I'm literally a bumpkin. I've never been in New York, never been to Chicago, never been to Italy. When I'm thinking pizza, I'm thinking Domino's. I'm thinking pasta, I'm thinking Olive Garden. These are just not my questions. So I'm gonna be humble for this topic.
Okay, then how about we do biscuits and gravy or fried chicken?
Sorry, I don't speak Alabama, but you know what? Pasta's really cool. And I think that all of you are wrong. Because the only way, for some reason, that a bunch of you can eat pizza is in its least pure form. If you can't eat it naked, then you can't eat it at all. That's bullshit. I can bite into a potato, but I'm not voting on it. But I can eat straight pasta. I'll go in the kitchen right now and eat pasta on stream. I'll let it fall onto me, and I'll be happier than a clam. I bet I will.
Bet you won't.
Well, try me, bitch. I'm doing it now.
All right.
All right, we'll see you about half an hour after you've had time for the noodles to soak, right? You're not going to do it right now.
No. I'm eating them raw. I'm eating them raw, okay? Raw.
Yeah.
You're not even cooking them?
Okay, that's evidence of need of some kind of medical attention.
I will say that I have been known to eat spaghetti raw. I pull one out as I'm getting the rest into the pot.
And I'm not surprised that the fucking arms dealer ain't saying shit. Because as soon as he opens his mouth, he's going to incriminate himself, right?
You know what it is Dylan is afraid of me. He's witnessed me murder his cats in Minecraft.
These niggas tried me.
He's witnessed me destroy his civilization.
Disgusting.
Those cats are away. Those cats got away. They were never killed.
Yeah, you don't know. You quit coming.
Okay, where were they?
You dug out this little hole into the side of this mountain and hollowed out the inside of a mountain. Trust me, I found them, Dylan.
So I heard you was talking shit, fam. What's up?
He knows I'm right too, because I
you got the
exactly where they were.
Oh, hang on.
You also had a sign up that said something. I can't remember what it was. Like
It's
we were like
fair.
pleading for forgiveness.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Cass
that's
tried to
right.
make
I
this
killed both of them and I enjoyed it.
Cass tried to make this an ASMR challenge.
Hell yeah. Yeah, what's up? You got a problem?
Man, this is so much better than the main show.
I don't know. Is that really pasta in there? Or you probably have gummy bears in there?
That's an advertisement for Tricolor Rotini from Barilla.
Yeah. I can literally feel my tooth falling out of my gums, but I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it for the culture.
Why are you doing that?
I'm doing it for the culture, and also I enjoy dentistry bills. You got a problem?
All right.
Is it eating pizza in its purest form just eating fucking bread? I think I can handle that pretty well, actually.
No, see, that's why I don't think the question, is raw fucking noodles is pasta, right? Like we Danabo said to begin with, it's all pasta dishes. Right, and then Dylan, the fucking nefarious arms dealer that he is, asked why. How is that a fucking good comparison, right? But the reality here is that includes all pizza as well, right? There's like chicken Alfredo pizza, right? There's all of these different types of pizza, and it's got to compete, right, with pasta. Here's the reality, folks. It's pretty much the same shit if you think about it. Because, like, when you eat your pasta, what do you tend to have? You tend to have garlic bread, right?
Right.
You tend to have the garlic bread, right? Mm-hmm. Or the fucking, you know what I'm saying, the bread, right? So then, like, where's your equivalent there with pizza? Well, you got the crust, especially if it's stuffed crust, right?
Oh, wow, the Snell eater at the bottom's confused. Back out of this conversation, Frenchie. Let the Americans
He's bushy. He's all bushy.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck between people saying that like they would eat pasta raw. By the way, that disqualifies you from having food takes. People saying that they would eat like pizza with nothing on it, which is basically bread. Like, I'm sorry, none of you are qualified to talk about food right now.
Are you saying that's a bit of a hate crime? Is it because none of us live in Europe? That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird.
Hold on. First, like, what I would love is for a Frenchman to defend that position.
I mean, they have French bread pizza.
What position? Like the position that like
Any position.
you're eating carbs and you're adding more carbs. Explain the reasoning behind eating pasta and eating fucking garlic bread. You already get your carbs. Why the fuck would you add bread?
You know what? I think
a good one because
this right here is the clear example.
Attractive.
Yeah, but this is a clear example, folks, of the best defense that France has ever put up.
Better than the Maginot Line.
I'm going to say this to Mr. Geek. You can, if you want to, you can question my food expertise, but I'll stand up and show you my belly, and you'll know I'm a damn expert on this situation.
He's a consumer of his product. I mean,
yeah.
Tell me.
I'm going to give you a hot take from my local area. I'm in Northeast Pennsylvania. There's a town not too far from me called Old Forge. They have Old Forge pizza. It is not freaking pizza. It's square. It's ugly. It's thick. It's disgusting. It's not pizza. They could take that, turn it sideways, and shove it. No, I stand by pizza except for Old Forge pizza. If you want Sicilian pizza, now that we could talk about. I love that nice buttery crust on the bottom. Oh man, yeah, Sicilian pizza.
I like how Preacher took his time on national Twitch TV to call it a local pizzeria.
No, it's the entire town. They swear, Old Forge Pizza, it's the best you got going in.
My pizzeria.
Yeah, not just one pizzeria, it's the whole damn town.
That's called delusion.
Yes.
By the way, real quick, just by a show of hands. So who chose pasta here? Who think pasta is the best dish? Alright, more perfect union, that's it. Pizza, who's for pizza? Okay. And potatoes? Wait. Okay, more perfect union versus twice, but like CTVs for potato. I'm curious about that. CTV go.
I want to hear this.
It's obvious, right? It's obvious.
This is
Potato is obviously tastes cake.
these are the sounds of an alcoholic
There's so many
rumbling.
things that you can do with potatoes. There's so many things. There's tater salad, right?
Salad.
You can
Oh
hit a
my
woman
goodness,
with a
tater
potato.
salad.
You can kill a woman with a
See, that's
potato.
when you start getting into
You
some good
can
southern
punch a
dishes
woman
that
with a
start,
potato.
making some
You
baked
can
potatoes with all your toppings, preacher. You already been talking
kill
about
a woman
it,
with
right?
a potato.
I was
many
on the
things.
news with that. I was on the news in my concession stand. They did an interview with me as I was taking my nice sweet potato baked and stuffing it with my fresh homemade pulled pork topping.
Yeah,
Sold out that day.
And let's not forget tater tots, right?
Ooh,
let's
tater
let's
tots.
also
We
not
should do
forget
a-
potato
Let's
alcohol.
do a poll here in chat.
Right? Can you make
What about-
alcohol out of pizza or pasta? No.
What about French fries?
Mashed potatoes?
Excuse me, have you ever had pepperoni wine? Do you want to have a talk?
Pepperoni wine?
I'm fucking with you.
Also, I want to say, as a whiskey maker, I want to say fuck vodka. So, Appalachian Distillery.
Yeah, so clearly potatoes take they take it all, right? Taters take it all, right? There's no colloquial term for pizza or pasta, right? It's just pizza or pasta, but potatoes are so fucking cool that you call them taters. You
You
see
can
what I'm
call
saying?
pizza.
Now, see, it is
Vote
what
my
it is.
minions.
Potatoes are a
Vote.
staple.
Pizza, za.
You know what? No, never.
Pie. You call it a pie.
Yeah, no. So like it's obvious. This goes all the way back to the
nickname.
goes all the way back to the Irish, folks.
Taters,
Right? It goes all
I
the way back to
know.
the Irish, right? The potato
not
famine.
good.
Everybody remembers it's a history. Like we know about this. There's no fucking pizza famine that helps save an entire group of people, right?
What's up with
Taters.
conservatives? What's up with conservatives always wanting to bring up the Irish?
The
History,
fetishization.
bro. What do you want me to do?
Sorry,
Somebody who's part Irish, I'm okay with it.
I'm part Irish too.
I figured the
they're all part
Italians were
Irish.
getting represented on 2 of the fucking topics. At least we could get
Right.
the Irish represented.
Dylan's fucking.
No one's
literally
ever. I don't think in the
dipping
history. Well,
himself.
maybe you. I don't know.
Oh my
Has been
god.
like, I do have this delicious pizza, but goddamn, I'd much rather have potato salad right now.
I hate all of
Hell
you.
yeah.
A tater salad
Oh,
on what?
it's gross.
You got to remember, man, pizza's been so overly commercialized and sold here that like actually having some
I
good
fucking hate
tater
all of
salad
you.
is like
This is why
so
we can't
much
have
better than
those
just
things.
having
Holy
another
shit.
fucking pizza.
It's been more commercialized because more people want fucking pizza, the potato salad, because it's infinitely better.
Oh,
Actually,
it's because
let's put this
people
to
are
test.
it's because
If
people are
I'm
fucking
incorrect-
lazy.
If I'm incorrect, then you have a great business opportunity right now. Go start a
I'll tell
fast
you why
food.
it is.
Go start a fast food potato salad restaurant and see.
I'll tell you why it is. Potato salad, and now obviously there's different tweaks and turns, and obviously one is going to be better than the other. But it's a pretty basic thing that just about anybody can make. Whereas pizza, to make a true homemade delicious pizza, that's artistry right there. It takes patience. It takes practice.
Also, do you know who makes stuff with potatoes? Russian people make things with potatoes. That's how you know that's a fucked up meal. You can't eat that shit for your rest of your life. If the Russians cook with it, if that's one of their staples, take that shit out your diet right now, homie. Take it out.
Yeah, you literally just say pasta from the box. All right, I'm not taking anything you say seriously. I'm sorry.
It was to show my allegiance. I will literally crush my enamel for this fucking box. Okay, like I am.
That's a little too committed. That's a little too committed.
Well, I'm just showing you guys like how dedicated I am to this random, really weird cork-shaped thing. Like I
Look, I don't want to be responsible for. Yeah, I just don't want to be responsible for your enamel getting crushed, like because you hold our opinions in such high regard. I would encourage you to lower it just a little bit to prevent you from doing that.
CTV. I wake up every morning remembering that CTV likes me, and if it wasn't for that, I think I would have game ended by now. So your opinion's pretty high up on there.
Well, I
I don't
appreciate
know
that.
why. Watching you eat that pasta is making me actually cringe.
Yeah,
It hurts
did? Yeah,
to
no.
watch you eat it. I'm not even joking.
I don't like it.
Please stop eating the pasta. No, please don't do it. Don't do
Here's
it.
another thing that
I'm going to be injured. There's no way. I cannot listen to this. Like I'm. Okay. Real quick, sorry. I want to address the only civilized people and the only people worth talking to on this panel, aka the people that chose pasta. What is your favorite dish with a pasta basis?
Obviously, cats is a box.
After the box, I think I would go with mushroom risotto.
Okay, decent choice.
Globalist.
Huh?
Didn't you choose pasta as a?
I originally chose pasta because I was thinking like I was overthinking it. I was thinking of like just specifically dishes. Then technically you could put noodles in anything, and then it would therefore be pasta. Like I could get vanilla ice cream, throw some noodles in it, and then just not eat the noodles, and I have ice cream. Like I don't know, but if we're going like for just specifically for dishes, I like pasta a lot, but no pizza.
Well,
Sure.
you know, if we're bringing up whole fucking meals, right, dishes, then it's very, very important to remember that steak goes with potatoes. Okay.
Yeah, but you need the steak to make it a meal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If we were going, for
You just make the
best
potatoes
sides, I would go
fucking
with
steak
potatoes over
shaped.
pasta or steak. Or
Yeah,
sorry,
but
pasta or
it's a-
pizza.
I will not stop eating
but it's a
raw
dish, right?
pasta
So
until
steak
I
and
convince
potatoes.
everybody on this panel.
Actually, fuck, I'm an
Or my
idiot.
teeth fall
I'm
out.
wrong.
Whichever
I think
one
it would
comes
be
first.
pasta. If we had to go with specific dishes, it would be pasta because there's more options. It actually makes sense now. I'm sorry, I just got done working. No, that makes sense. Like I would rather have like chicken parmesan than a pepperoni.
The
pizza,
bit's
for
never
example,
done, I'll
for
have you
sure.
know.
Welcome to the Champions Club.
Or like chicken carbonara.
You could have a chicken parm pizza, by the way.
You could, but it wouldn't be as good.
Chicken parm, that's fucking lit.
No, I wouldn't eat raw pasta because apparently I can't handle that. That's something new I found out about myself today.
You're not thug
Oh,
enough, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, well, you're also forgetting about scallop potatoes, right?
No, I thought about
or
it. I thought about all the-
waffle fries,
Yeah, I
right?
thought
Or
about
curly
Dude, chicken
fries.
parm right now?
You here's something funny. When I go to a
Homie.
fast food
Yo,
restaurant,
you know what? Fuck
I
it.
usually order
I'm
whatever
ordering
fry
takeout.
alternative they
I
have.
want pasta.
Even at Arby's. When I go to Arby's, I get mozzarella.
You know, the
sticks instead
rotini,
of
the raw
curly fries.
rotini is good, but
If
I
go to
want real
McDonald's, you
pasta
can
right
substitute
now.
fries
I'm
for
sorry.
nuggets, like a 4-piece nugget.
Why?
I just don't like potatoes that much. I don't even eat potato
Yeah,
chips.
give me your
I
address real
usually
quick.
get whatever kind of corn chip I can get.
Wait, you don't eat Pringles?
No, which isn't even really that much potato. It's mostly dough.
Ask
with
Dylan
potato
what he
in
wants.
it,
You
so-
already ordered Chipotle. He
Yeah,
knows
but you
I'm
don't like
literally
Pringles?
like allergic
They're
to
okay.
it or something.
I would
What do you
never
mean they're
buy them.
okay? What do you mean
I
they're
would
okay?
never-
Once you pop,
Like,
you can't stop,
He
damn it.
ordered Chipotle
like,
for
when
me
I
the
go
other
to
day when I was
snack
supposed
like
to go and
that,
take a
is
flight,
Cheez-Its.
and I ended up vomiting for like
I don't really like chips or
15
Doritos.
minutes in a 7-Eleven parking
potatoes
lot.
just kind of suck.
Yeah, except they're
Brave.
what keep people alive.
Brave.
I mean, yeah, maybe like
Yeah. So he just
I
went
don't
and
know,
ordered,
decades
didn't ask
ago.
me what did I want. I'm like, oh,
I
you're
don't
ordering
have-
7-Eleven? He's
you
like,
have
yeah,
no
because
need
I'm
for
ordering
potatoes
actual
now.
food. I'm like, what are you ordering?
Are you
Chipotle.
shitting me?
I know you can't have it.
Unless you're bringing
What?
up something that I don't
You
know
did that shit
about.
on
Wait,
purpose.
now you're
Dylan.
bringing up a very, very bold claim. You're saying that we don't need potatoes at all now?
I mean, I don't eat potatoes, and I'm ticking, buddy.
Uh-huh. So
I'm
you
gonna
don't
say
think that as
nobody-
a civilization that we should just
So-
we should just genocide the entire potato plant according to Freems?
So I just want you to know that, like, I think we should only have the food that Freems thinks we should have, and he says we don't need potatoes, so I don't think we need potatoes.
Thank
So-
you. That's a good take. That's the best take I've heard tonight.
And
Yeah.
I will say that many people have put themselves through college delivering pizza. Nobody's put themselves through college delivering potatoes.
True. The coolest thing you
Yams.
can do with a potato is getting a lighter igniter and a big PVC pipe.
Oh
And
yeah.
shooting some fluid down in there, throwing a potato in it, and clicking it.
Please have
watching that
another serious
potato
topic.
launch a
Nah,
300
Yeah.
yards.
I think we're
Wait,
done
so you just
after
further-
this,
you
and
just
then
further
Dylan
strengthened
is
my
will be
argument
going
by
on
including,
to
high velocity
Team's panel
projectiles.
afterwards, so I'll probably write into
Be able to
him.
use to defend your home as well, right? So like,
But I'll make sure I like have
you
him
can't
come over
defend your
here
home with
before the
pizza,
next
can
thing.
you?
Maybe
So
I'll
that
try
at least
that.
he can
I'll
say
toss a
hello.
can of ravioli in it and see what kind of damage it does.
Cheapers.
Well,
No,
no,
I-
you don't
I
get to
want
keep
ravioli.
the material, right?
Wait, no,
that
I want risotto. I'm
the
sorry,
thing is
risotto's
stored
really
into
good.
whenever you're just using it, right? See, using something to prepare it, right, is the thing. You don't get to just have the can. So, right, so maybe you could use the pot, right? But then it's a pot. Whereas the potato is in fact the weapon. It's just moving at a high velocity. You see what I'm saying? So
Say
like,
pot?
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I know I usually wait until like people like the topic is dying down, but I cannot like take any of your food take any longer. So we're going to go into closing statement. No, I'm joking. Like on top of that, like there's a show that's starting soon. So yeah, I think it's a good time to end.
Hair oil.
Yeah. Let's start with a closing statement with
Dylan Burns. I appreciate it. So,
all right.
I just want to say that this is the most I've probably ever talked on a panel, and I appreciate everybody else dealing with me. The topics were so engaging, so amazing, and so top tier that I had no other option but to put my complete and total effort behind every word that I deployed today. And I hope, in my deployance of said words, I did not hurt the feelings of anybody gathered here today. Gappy. So, with that in mind, I would like to bid you all farewell and thank you for this enlightening experience that was pleasing to me on an emotional, physical, and sexual level. You all have a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, you have a good one. I'm going to fade to Gappy.
Thanks again. It's twitch.tv/GappyV. Tonight, I am finally beating Pokemon Emerald on my Nuzlocke randomizer. I'm not bad at Pokemon. I'm going to fucking destroy it. And every one of my chatters are going to be mad because they realize I'm actually good at the game. Also, check out my YouTube channel. Same channel name, GappyV. I need to get 1,000 subscribers so I can get monetized. So please go subscribe so that YouTube can start throwing money at me. Otherwise, I'm going to be poor forever, and that's not praxis, all right?
Based. And you can, and you wouldn't be able to get your own mention. All right, Frames.
Yeah, twitch.tv/Frames. I am the expert, I guess, is what they refer to me as on here when it comes to food. If you like the last topic, I host a debate panel where we literally debate everything but politics. Like this week we're doing anime topics, and then the next week we're doing the fast food wars. If that's something you're interested in, come check it out. Also have some more shows coming, so yeah, appreciate you guys letting me come on this every week for this. So thanks for bringing me on again.
Anytime. I'm going to fade to Binks.
I'll talk to you guys for like a little bit
thanks for having me on.
after
Appreciate
this
it.
ends
I'm
before I
Binks.
raid into
I'm
him
what
so I
you
can
call
answer all the
a niche
questions.
streamer. You'll never see me on the Hippy TV main show, mainly because I don't get invited to any other streams except for this one. Thanks, Danabo. Yeah, had a lot of fun. Thanks.
All right, More Perfect Union.
Hi, the More Perfect Union, twitch.tv/the More Perfect Union. I am a political right of center constitutionalist, and I will participate in any panel that people want to talk politics on. So thanks for, this was a lot of fun, actually. I liked the last topic. I still think that my take was the best one because, well, you know, all food is all inclusive, and I think we need to be more inclusive in what we do in our lives. So
Okay, you'll see me in a sec.
Really enjoyed hanging out with all of you guys. So all of the takes, some of them very funny, some of them just crazy, but that's okay. And this is what we get when we have diversity of thought. So thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah, anytime. Preacher.
Yep, twitch.tv/Preacher570 on Twitch. Twitter is Michael Parenti1. TikTok is Preacher570, I believe. I'm not sure. But thanks for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to stick to my original thought that anybody who's making me choose between foods, I'm going to get rid of them before I get rid of the food because I am a foodie. Which, saying that, Freems, if you ever need anybody on your panels to discuss
really like
food,
pasta.
I'm always
You can
open,
call me
and I'm going to be
something
honest
foodie.
with you guys. Even though I said pizza, I just took something that's going to give me the munchies, and I'm probably going to put some raviolis and tater tots together, so that ain't pizza, but hell, I'm not going to care in that moment.
The More Perfect Union? I'm not sure.
All
That
right.
name.
I'm going to fade to CTV.
Well, folks, it's potatoes for the win. You got food, booze, and guns. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Guns. Oh, potato guns.
That said,
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Twitch.tv/critically thinking veteran. Always happy to be here for the Sunday show, co-hosting it with Mr. Geek. And I'm not surprised that Dylan took off early. You know, he knew that I was getting ready to drop the shipment manifest, you know, that I was alluding to earlier. He was trying to get out of here as quick as he could.
Quivering from here.
Right? Just wait though, folks. Right? We're gonna be tracking down this story, right, of the nefarious arms dealer and where he's doing his business, and we're gonna get the information needed, right, to be able to prove it to the wrong authorities, right? Just to be able to make something happen. I don't know what is gonna happen, but you know what? I should have thought more about this.
Don't worry, guys.
No, I shouldn't have. Damn it,
gonna-
we're going for his ass. Dylan, you better make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed because we're coming. All right, see ya.
The people.
All right.
The people.
Did I forget anyone real quick?
Woman?
Yeah, of course I forgot the woman.
It's because I have a
But
vagina. Whatever. Typical.
Exactly.
Hello. I am Dylan Burns' chambermaid. I am also the help. His grandma was very freaked out when he called me that the first time she met me. It was a wonderful experience. Hello. I am Katarana. I do, political panels when people let me. I do yelling at Dave Chappelle videos when people don't let me. And I do physics streams when I'm happy. Woohoo! So yeah, if you like me, or if you don't like me, if you want to just come into my comments and get banned, I invite you to come do that. Otherwise, you can find me on all the things with the KATARANA, and if you can't spell that, then you can't come to my channel. Okay, thanks.
All right. Yeah. So this time, did I forget anyone? No? Perfect. Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. I had a blast hosting this show. I'm going to say goodbye to my chat and probably raid. Is it still live? Yeah, he is. And probably raid Dr. Him, where you will find Dylan Burns TV since he is doing a panel right now. And yeah, take care, people. And yeah, thank you for being here.
See you, everybody.